Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. In the studio, waiting to be profiled, is Debra Ehrhardt and sculptor Jean Wolff. Writer-performer Debra Ehrhardt was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica. After moving to the United States, she commuted to New York from her home in Connecticut, and she was studying acting. Why did you go to Connecticut when you were studying in New York?
Well, I lived with my parents at the time. I was a teenager when I came, so I had no choice.
They went to Connecticut?
Yes. My father had relatives in Connecticut, and so we moved there. But we lived in Westport, Connecticut, which is only about 55 minutes from New York on the train. So I would take the train into New York every day.
As a teenager?
Yeah, I was about, yes. Mm-hmm.
You were?
I was taking the train in.
And who were you studying with?
I studied with Catherine Kerr from the Playwrights Horizons, and I also studied with Bill and Susan Esper at the Esper Studios for many years.
And were they instrumental in helping you get those roles on the soap operas? And
well, I had an agent there for,
you did?
Yes, I had an agent, and I, not big roles, very small roles on soap operas, and I did quite a bit of theater off Broadway. And I used to get a lot of auditions, but I had the same problem every time. People would ask me, well, are you black? Are you white? Are you Spanish? Well, where are you from? With that accent. And, they could never figure out where to place me.
But that seems like an asset. You could play so many different roles. I would think that would be great.
But, they want to be able to pigeonhole you a little bit, and they weren't quite sure what to do with me. So I remember I used to go to quite a few auditions, and the director would say, oh, that's fabulous. Now do that with your American accent. And I was thinking to myself, that was the American accent.
It's funny that you came as a teenager and you retained that English, I guess. It's
it's British Caribbean is what it is, I think.
Yeah, well, you
British
retained
Caribbean.
it, which is interesting.
I think, my sisters were younger than I, and they sound completely American. But I think once you're over 13, and,
13.
you're going to keep the accent that you have, and I don't really have a good air. So because I was, I really wanted to write and perform, and because I was having a bit of trouble there, and I even went to they wanted me to go to a speech therapist. So I went to a speech therapist, and I was kind of getting the American accent, and like about halfway through, you would hear it start to come in, and you would hear the Jamaican sing-song coming in again. So I just wasn't able to do it. So I decided that, since they weren't quite sure where to put me, that I would write for myself.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you had to write your own parts.
So I had to write my own stuff.
It seems so silly, because it seems like a person with so many interesting personas wouldn't be just like people rummaging for you.
But a lot of the roles are written for very specific types, and they want you to be kind of mainstream, I guess,
But you did do a lot of off-Broadway work.
I did quite a little bit of off-Broadway work. I didn't get paid for it, it was in productions that you didn't get paid for, but it was the experience, and I really enjoyed doing it.
So you knew the stage,
yes.
And you knew you could do something on stage.
And just being, I was able to start writing my own stuff, and I got tired of coming from the Caribbean after being in New York for about 8 years. I couldn't take another winter. I just couldn't, they kept telling me that my blood was going to thicken up. Yeah. It never thickened up. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to California.
Is that what brought you out here?
That was what brought me. I couldn't take another winter.
When you were spokesman for the Jamaican Tourist Board, where were you, New York or California?
I was in New York, and I also did some work for them in California, just promoting Jamaica.
What did you do, actually? Were you on camera, or did you make appearances?
I made appearances at their, Jamaican, where we're where they were trying to attract visitors to go to Jamaica,
Yes, yes.
just telling them about the island. And
I did
telling them
interview
about-
some people from the tourist board in different islands a long time ago, but they do have those representatives going out. So I wondered if you were one of those types of representatives.
Yes, I just, and tell people what we have there, what we have to offer to couples, to singles, tell them about our food, and just kind of try to describe the place to them to get them wanting to go there.
In luncheons and dinners in different places like that?
Yes.
Fairs?
Yes. And I go back to Jamaica 3 times a year. I have 2 children, and I take them back there, so they know Jamaica, because I want them to know their heritage as well, although my son is first generation American.
So
he
was
sounds
the only-
completely American.
He doesn't have your accent?
No, but the funny thing is, Joan, he can sound just like a Jamaican.
From learning from you?
Yes, from when I get upset with the kids and I start going off in Jamaican, they go, "Mom's talking in that crazy language again." But they know, they understand it and they can speak it.
But their father is American.
He's American.
Yeah.
Yes, he's American.
Well, here, you brought yourself to Beverly Hills before I had a chance to ask you. And what did you decide to do when you came here?
Well, because I wanted to be in entertainment, write and perform, I figured the main capitals for that are New York and Los Angeles. So I gave New York a shot, and I love New York, but couldn't take the cold weather anymore. So I came to Los Angeles, brought my 2 children, ended up in Beverly Hills, and started to write again. And I wrote my first show a couple of years ago called Mango Mango that I did by myself.
It was a one-woman show.
It was a one-woman show.
And how long was it? 60 minutes or 65 minutes?
It was about an hour and 20 minutes.
And you starred in it. Mm-hmm. And did you need a director?
Yes, I had an amazing director, David Groh. Do you know who that is, Joan?
Oh, I do. I've interviewed him. He's fabulous.
He's fabulous, wonderful director.
Well, how did you find him?
Well, you're not going to believe this. It's so funny. In Jamaica, when I was a little girl, 9, 10 years old, we saw Rhoda on television, and I was in love with Joe from Rhoda.
And that's how it happened?
And so when I moved to Connecticut, my sister and I were on the train, and we saw him. And I thought, oh my God, there's Joe from Rhoda that I was in love with 10 years ago. So I had to say something to him, So we waited. The train had just gone into Grand Central because David lived in Westport as well.
Oh, so you were...
So we got off in the station at Grand Central, and, we just had to go up to him and go, "Hi, we were in love with you in Jamaica. We had to say hi."
That.
So, it was just amazing. So we kind of got to be friends because we saw him on the train a lot going into New York. And then David moved out here.
Yes.
And when I came out here to Beverly Hills, I contacted him again.
And he directed you.
And, he came to the reading of the play, and I wanted him to do it, but, wanted him to see if he was interested in it first. So he came to the play, and he loved it, and he directed my first play. He was amazing, and it was
because so many times when you write a one-person play or you're in it, you don't think you need a director.
Oh, I knew that I needed a director. I would never presume. When I wrote the play, I had several readings at my house.
And you got a lot of awards for that.
Yes. Well, I was nominated for best. About 4 different awards.
Yes, which
but it was
great.
Thanks to David. Thanks to David. He has had so much experience on the stage, and been in the business for 35 or 40 years. So I was extremely lucky that he wasn't doing a job at the time.
Oh, that's how it worked out. So
Yes.
it was all about your life, Mango Mango.
Mango Mango was about my life growing up in Jamaica and how I got to the United States.
Now we have invisible chairs.
Invisible chairs. And whereas Mango Mango was looking out at the world, invisible chairs is kind of looking in. When I came to America, people were so, quick to notice the differences. Oh, you're little, what are you? Or, you sound a little different, and they're quick to notice the differences. But I wanted to write a play about what makes us something universal that we can all, relate to. We can all relate to something universal.
But you call it a trilogy when all you've written is 2 of the 3.
Well, I just got done with the second one, and the third one I'm outlining, and hopefully I'll be done with it in another year.
And the third one will be?
Invisible Chairs is about the influence that my father had on my life.
Oh.
I think, no matter what color, race, religion we are, the first family that we come into will have a lot to do with how we are as human beings later on in life. And Invisible Chairs is how my father, what part he played in my life.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So
And
then the third one will
be my mother.
Of
the
course.
part that my mother played in my life. And Invisible Chairs it's a wonderful experience because I'm doing it with my real son.
Which is great. And you wrote the part for him?
And I wrote the part for him, and my son is getting ready to go off to college, and so this is just a wonderful send-off.
But he sings he sang in the choral group, and
yes.
he's a musician.
Yes, he's a musician, so he's used to being on stage.
And also on this play, Invisible Chairs, which is at the
Strasbourg Theatre. We open in 2 weeks.
You have another fabulous director, Lorraine Messman.
Yes, she's amazing, very creative. She's an artist, and I met her. My son and her son are best friends.
That's how that happened?
Yes,
so
that's
she
how
probably
that
was
happened.
delighted to
Oh, yes, she came to the readings,
direct you.
and she was, they really loved the play. At first, I wasn't quite sure if Americans would be interested in a Caribbean life or, but they seemed to really like, they liked the play and what it...
But I think if you've written something good, another person who's a professional can see what it is and can really work with you. Just like your set designer, I think, Juan Carlos Malpelli.
Yes, he's amazing, very creative mind, brilliant. I just took a look at the set yesterday, and it's looking fabulous. It actually even feels a little bit like Jamaica with all the color,
Oh, see, that's so great.
He's
but
wonderful.
the Strasbourg has a great group working there.
They do.
And they know what to bring in and what to take out. And
yes, and they're very encouraging and warm with artists. It's wonderful to just be able to go over there and present your work and have it put up. I've got to tell you that I have been in this business for almost 15 years, Joan.
Not very long.
But this is like my first real job.
Oh, this is
my first real job in 15 years. And my parents, they, when I started, in it, everybody's pretty supportive of you for the first couple years. But then after 3, 4, 5 years goes by and nothing is happening, they think, well, nobody's really supportive of you anymore.
That's a good question. No, actually, that was a good question. How did your mother and father think about Mango Mango, and how are they going to relate to Invisible Chairs? And what will your mother think of the last piece?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I come from a very Christian fundamentalist family, and Jamaicans on a whole, they don't like to talk about what's going on in the family unless it's good. Everything bad gets swept under the carpet.
Right.
You've got to, just when you open that door in the morning, you walk out there with a smile on your face and you pretend that the world is a beautiful place and everything is fabulous. But you know what? It's not always that way. And that's one thing about coming to America. I was really happy that you didn't get judged by who your father was, or you get judged on your own self. And people don't, you don't have to pretend that everything's okay if it's not.
Yeah,
if you want to be sad, maybe there's some people who do, but I think it's more so in Jamaica. A lot of things get swept under the carpet, and I think it's important, to be honest, because then maybe, if another person that's afraid of telling their story hears it from someone else, then they might think, well, hey, that happened to me, and I don't have to feel bad about it.
I can see what you're saying. All I wanted to know is what your parents would think of what you were saying.
Well, you know what? My parents, they have not seen Mango Mango.
Oh.
They haven't seen it, and they're not very happy about it, to be honest.
I think we got our answer.
They're not very happy.
Because anytime we divulge the way we really feel, we're going to be criticized
I know,
somewhere.
they're not very happy about it, and they won't see Invisible Chairs either.
But let's wait until you're a big star, which you're on your way to be, and then I think they'll have a different point of view.
Oh.
So, Debra, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Joan. It was a pleasure.
I loved having you, and thanks for watching Debra. She's very exciting and has a great show. I saw the reading, and we're going to be right back with sculptor Jean Wolff. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Sculptor Jean Wolff earned a Bachelor of Science from the University of Wisconsin, and then went on to attend UCLA and Otis Art Institute. Her work has been on exhibit in galleries, but her forte lies in her public commissions. She has a beautiful 8-foot bronze piece in Pasadena and a 15-foot piece in San Jose. Tell us about those commissions, Jean.
Well, I was very fortunate, and to get those commissions, I did know some people, and that does help. And I was able to get these wonderful, wonderful jobs, and they were very exciting to do.
They're not both bronze, are they? You've used different materials.
Yes, one is bronze, the one in Pasadena, and it's called Les Trente. And then the other one is stainless steel, and it's a 15-foot one in San Jose.
Did you start working in bronze?
Actually, my first work was in clay, in the traditional clay, and then wax is what you use to make the bronze, you know, to cast in bronze. It's first made in wax. And then I worked in stone, and I've worked in wood. And wood is really, right now, my particular material of choice. This is the one I prefer.
When you started, when you were in college, did you think you were going to be a sculptor, an artist?
No, actually I was a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
And I started out as a teacher, and then, but I always knew that I wanted to find some wonderful means of expression, and I always thought I would write. But that didn't seem to work out. I started to write children's books when my children were young.
I wanted to do that too. I couldn't do
Did you?
it.
Well, I started to, but then I changed my mind about that. And then I started taking art classes. So I really created my own art school, basically.
So you went to Otis, which is a great school. I love Otis.
And I took classes at Otis, and I took classes at UCLA.
Who'd you take classes from?
I took from various teachers. It's hard for me to remember the different teachers that I took from.
Was it all in sculpture? Was it all in, say, metal work or stone work, or was it painting and different kinds of classes?
Well, I took a lot of different things, and from a lot of different small schools too, and took from various private teachers as well.
Oh, you did?
So I did. I studied design, and I studied painting and drawing. And then I realized that I really love sculpture, and I love the three-dimensional nature of it. So that's when I started to
Did you
develop.
study or assist any well-known artists or artists who were, say, working artists at the time?
At the time, really, I didn't.
Because it's always a good thing to work with other artists, and you get the feel of the studio. And
Right. I didn't actually work with anyone specifically. Just a lot of different teachers, and really did my own type of thing, and really developed on my own.
I noticed
so to speak.
a lot of your work is inspired by Arp and Brancusi and Barbara Hepworth, very abstract sculptors.
Right. Actually, Brancusi was one of the people that inspired a lot of my work in my Totems series that I know you're familiar with.
I'm going to show some of.
And,
I have a picture of the totem. Explain this to us.
Well, it's wood and bronze, and the little circular open piece is bronze, and the rest is wood. And these pieces are all part of a series that was inspired by Brancusi. And Brancusi he used the pedestal as part of the sculpture.
How do you fuse this is the bronze part, and this is the wood?
This is the bronze part, and the rest is all wood.
How do you fuse those two materials?
Well, some of them, I have to kind of show you that. This piece is placed inside, so they can fit inside, and some are doweled in there and adhered to in different ways. But the whole idea was for merging forms and difference in textures. And
I'm going to show another totem.
All right, and the second section down, you can see.
I'll move it this way, yeah.
This section right there is bronze, and the rest is wood.
But they
And-
look like they're all one piece when you see them at
Right, and
Hetty's
that-
gallery, at the Corsan Gallery.
Right, and that's the whole idea of it, that I have placed them in such a way, put them together in such a way that they are as one, and they become one.
One of the things that she was talking about was the difference in feel, how one generates one kind of heat or coldness.
Right.
Did you think of those
Yes,
things?
there are like two different themes in my work, and one is this duality or yin yang, and this would be the different surfaces, the cold to the warm. The bronze is a colder material, and the wood is a warm feeling one, and then you have all the different surfaces, which are smooth to rough,
Right.
and this is also that duality, that yin-yang feeling. That is another one of the themes in my work.
So when you work with the bronze, it's the lost wax.
Right, it's lost wax.
And then when
process.
you have to do the art, the woodwork with it, you must carve it like.
I do it all by hand, and I use chisels and mallets, and it's very time-consuming, but I enjoy the work.
And
I love the process.
we have another piece, which it's a wall piece.
Right.
I'm going to hold it down
And this
like
is
that.
this is part of my loop series, and these were inspired by a political question, a concept, which sometimes inspires my work, and it was the question of who knew what, when, and where, as far as it could have been for any political time, like the Iran-Contra affair or 9/11. And
I'm going to show the next one while you're still
and those
talking.
those are made of, I first started with this flexible styrofoam that was in my studio.
Oh.
And then I added paper mache and Bondo and matte medium paint, and then mounted them on the wall. So they actually look like metal. I don't know if you can
They're
tell.
not very heavy then.
They're very light. They're
Oh,
very
that's
light.
interesting. I didn't touch one at the gallery, and I thought they were very heavy to take off the wall.
They look very heavy, but they're
So
actually
you
light.
created your own medium.
Right, right. I created that.
And where is your studio?
My studio is in Santa Monica, not too far from here, and it's.
Do you share it with anyone, or do
No,
you?
I just go there every day and work, and that's basically what I love to do.
I have a couple of other things that really show what you were talking about, that toughness of the.
You mean the contrast, the yin-yang kind of feeling?
But it looks really strong. The wood looks stronger than the metal. To me, it has a
because
stronger
of this,
feel.
it's probably the shapes and there's a lot of texture on them, and the concavities. I'm not sure, exactly why it is that way, but it is that feeling of strength.
And something like this
And that's
is
called.
the same. Are these the same?
Yeah, that's just two
Let
different
me just
views.
show this one, because this is a closer look, and you can talk. Are
That-
those separate pieces with rings around them?
Well, they are actually now, they're separate, but it started out as one big log, and I call this emergence. And that's another theme of my work, our merging forms. And here you can see like 3 sections breaking apart. It's sort of like a birthing or growth, and that was the idea that I had in mind.
The center is?
The center is, no, it's just the idea that this piece is like somewhat,
And what is the
It's growing
center
out.
made from?
the whole thing is made of wood.
The whole thing is
And
wood.
except for the stand that's metal. So.
And I noticed that some of the pieces at the gallery are actually set on the stand. So you make the platform and the piece as a
As
unit,
one, right.
so that's the way you like to show it.
Right. Well, that's the way they're meant to be. For example, like in this particular
Let's talk about this, because this
Okay,
is
so-
a different, actually a different series, right?
Yes, this is a step series, and these pieces here are metal, and this is wood, and this is a wire figure. And this, I did a whole series.
This table is wood? Excuse me, I'm
It
sorry.
is, yeah, it's wood. And this table, this whole series was based on or inspired, I should say, by the 12-step program and the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. and my interest in them. And so, like in this there are 8 steps in this particular sculpture, and some of them have 12, and some, you know, are close to that number. I got off a little bit.
Does it have to do with anything other than Buddhist? Does it have to do with, say, a 12-step program in
all the different 12-step
the
programs,
different
ideas.
programs,
That
yeah,
was
there's so many.
That was my inspiration. It can mean anything to the viewer, and that was the idea of this little figure, was to incorporate it in as a dialogue.
So
for
it's
a dialogue.
movable. It's very flexible. The figure.
Yeah, the figure is flexible, although I did place it in this shape. I suppose you could change it, but the idea of the figure was to have a dialogue between the art and the viewer.
I think one of the questions, I know Peter Frank, who's a very good friend of mine and an excellent critic, art critic, wrote about the idea of, do the steps go up or do the steps go down?
Right.
The universal question. And
Right.
does that have to do with the artist and what the artist is thinking?
Well, you know, that was his interpretation of it. And that is the idea of abstract sculpture, at least in my mind, in that you get a chance as a viewer to interpret it any way you want. That wasn't particularly what I thought about for myself personally, but it could be, and that was the idea, was to have the viewer see it in his own eyes, you know.
Is this drawn out? Can you draw?
Yes, I can. I can draw. Although I did draw it for the Totems series. I had to draw because in order to have these pieces sit one on top of the other properly, you have to have this balance, and they have to work together very well. And these I really thought about, and a lot of my ideas come from my imagination and my dreams and that sort of thing. And this particular series was part of that. Coming from that.
I'm so glad you were able to come and explain your art to us today. We appreciate your being here. Thank you, Jean. And thank you, viewers, for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing, and we'll answer all of your letters, we promise, to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 917. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.